I am back. I know a lot of y'all were surprised. A lot of y'all thought it probably wouldn't happen again. But Late Night Vibes are still alive, believe it or not. It's been a very long time. It's actually been a good year since we gave y'all a great quality episode. I know y'all missed us. We missed you too. All the fans out there, all the friends, all the people that actually took the time to watch our episodes. We thank you for that. And a lot has happened. A lot has happened. And there's reasons why we haven't really did too much, right? Our last great episode that we had was Kai Infinite. Episode 53. Shout out to boy Kai Infinite. Shout out to Ryan Luke, by the way. And shout out to Nia De Niro. Some great artists making some big impacts. Today's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to give you... I'm not really going to get into like music and art and things that we need to catch up on. We'll do that eventually. Probably next episode or two. But today I'm going to give you a little spill on grief. Now, you guys may be asking, Sabian, why grief? Right? Some of you may know, some of you don't know. I've lost my father, Billy J. Leslie. Phenomenal man, if you ever had a chance to meet him. Handsome guy. You see me, right? You see him. Literally. It was my twin. And young man, by the way, he was only 61. And he suffered from dementia and Parkinson's disease. So a young man like that catching a disease as such took him out. And I watched the process from, I believe 2000 and I want to say maybe the end of 16, 17ish, when I realized that he had it, all the way to his end of his life. So I watched the stages of it happen. Again, very young man, but it was a very frightening disease. To see your loved one go from walking and active to laughing and joking around to basically being in a stage of like a baby. You had to take care of him. So seeing that happen took a toll on you. So my father passed away. Before we start, right, I'm going to pour up a little tequila just to get the mood a little bit lighter. Actually, put that there. I didn't plan this, I promise you. Like, I didn't rehearse this. I'm just trying to give y'all a piece of me. Pause. So my father passed away, and I've been dealing with grief. Now, believe it or not, grief comes in different stages. And you kind of recognize them on your own after a little bit of self-reflection, right? You started to go through these stages and you're like wondering where you're at. I promise you, it's 5 different stages of grief. Maybe more, but I'm tracking 5, right? And so I'm going to tell you how I got to recognize these 5. How did I learn that I was going through these things? And sometimes it hits you, sometimes it doesn't, right? Well, let's start, right? So I think the the first thing that we all go through, well, I don't want to say all, maybe majority of us go through this part: denial, right? So the first stage in grief is denial, right? We lose somebody close to us, and it doesn't have to be death, but in this situation I'm talking about death here, right? But we lose somebody close to us. So when I lost my father, I got the phone call, I remember, and I was at work. And the first thing that I did, like, I didn't really take too well to accepting it. Right? Someone telling you that your father passed away, and I'm just like shocked, like, wait, what? No. His wife called me and said he passed away in the morning, and I was just shocked. I actually stayed at work that day. Never forget it, right? And so it didn't hit me until after I got home. After I got home, and then you started to realize, like, okay, maybe it's true, right? And then you get your family members that call you. My sister called me, and my aunts and uncles called me. You know, you go through the phase that day, you didn't really think about it. You was just heartbroken, and it felt like they were just gone on a vacation, because you would talk to them. You know, I don't get a chance to talk to him. And it's crazy. I remember I just saw him a month before he passed. So I went to go see him. And I just knew that I had more time with him. So anyway, you get into this stage of denial. There's no way that he's going to pass away that fast. Or was it, was that something that was certain? God usually, and always, not usually, always has the say so when somebody's going to leave. So I thought I had more time with him. I really did. Well, no, I was wrong. I was wrong. And you sit and you go through like this stage of emotion. And be honest with you, sometimes I still can't believe that he's gone. Sometimes I can't believe it. And I believe it or not, the stages of grief is not linear, right? There is no sequential order that it comes into. You just recognize it. Like I said, you will. And then you move accordingly to it. So denial is the first step, right? And that was probably one of the hardest things to realize of my life. I think that was the most hardest, the hardest thing that I ever had to do in my life was to accept the fact that my father's not here. Somebody that I didn't really have, I didn't have a lot of memories as a kid. Things happen as kids that we as kids don't get a chance to control those factors, right? But I started making the memories when I was about 24, really. So about 10 years of my life, I might be 35 by the way, and about 10 years of my life that we had some memories. So it was the hardest thing in the world, because you have so many questions, you have so many things that you want to know about your life, your father, and how you always got that what if factor in the back of your head. Like, what if I grew up with my father factor? Like, how would I, come out? What kind of man would I be? I think I'm a great man now, but I think I'll be an even more extraordinary man if I was raised by him. But anyways, that's just questions that you have in the back of your head. So that was just the toughest thing to do. And to see somebody that looks just like you, He's just taller and more handsome than me. Look just like you, and then they're laying there, and you're just like, wow, this is it. And of course, everybody tells you to be strong, and you got to be strong for the family, and you got to do X, Y, and Z, and you got to make sure that there is no such thing as a standard or a coping mechanism that fits everybody. It doesn't. And so I had to figure out some coping mechanisms for myself, a strategy to say. What did I do? Well, I'll tell you, the first thing that I did, I went into a slump of eating, drinking. I didn't drink too much, but I noticed I gained weight. I was eating a lot of food. So then I went on a 20-day raw food diet. Lost a bunch of weight. I was about 240 some pounds. And then I dropped weight to 212. Now I'm about 216. I found something healthy. I run a lot, work out a lot. Finish up school. Spend time with family. And I just found something positive to do. Right? I did have those days where I was just upset, angry. And that goes to section 2. Anger. The second stage of grief. Oh man, I could talk all day long about anger. You're angry at either people, or you may have a war with yourself. Or unfortunately, you can be angry with God. Now, I'm a Christian man. Everybody can't sit here and say that they haven't had a war or they've been angry with God. Because I've been angry with God before, but this one here was just a little bit different. And I didn't curse God. I didn't say nothing crazy, but I just kept like God, why? I kept asking that. Why did you take somebody so kind and so sweet as my father? I guess I asked the same thing with my grandmother and my aunt. But this time it was just so different. I was so mad. I was mad at people around me. I was mad at my dad's wife. I was just so angry. And it'll come in spur of the moment. It will just be weird. You'll be good one minute, next minute you're mad. Well, that's not healthy, is it? No, not at all. So, I recognized that I needed to do something to get my anger out. Use that energy efficiently. Started running more, right? That goes back to the way to cope with, being in denial. Just running. Work out. Stay to yourself. Talk to people. Whatever you got to do. But that was one of the things that I started doing for myself. I know y'all probably remember a few months ago, last year or two actually, I was going to have my book. I scrapped it. And I have a journal where I write down parts of, when I'm mad. So I guess I could have done better at that, but I'm going to get back to it. But that one there, that being angry can really take you to a different stage in life if you don't know how to control it. So I highly advise you, if you're going to be, if you know that you have anger problems, learn how to control it. Alright? Do something positive. Do something that the person that you lost will love you to do. They know that you have been enjoying gardening, fishing, working out, whatever case. Do something that you know they will love doing instead of being angry and trying to take it out on the world. Right? Again, I say these steps aren't really sequential. They don't come in order. There's no way for you to really put them in order either. It just happens. Like, again, you sit back and realize that these things happen to you. So I go into say stage 3, bargaining. You know, we all done this part. Bargaining. We always ask God, Lord, if you spare my father, I would do X, Y, and Z. I'll do this differently, or I won't do it anymore. Lord, if you tell me to answer why, I'll. And it doesn't work like that. Sorry. God creates and God takes away. I think that was the hardest thing to accept. You can't bargain with God. There's no way that God is going to reach his hand out and say, I'll make a trade. Don't we all wish that? Don't we all wish that we can trade something of value that we have at home just to get somebody back? We would give the whole world up. It doesn't work that way. Everything that you work for, you believe it's like, what was it worth? I remember being in a school for the Army, and my dad was sick, and I didn't see him. Start thinking about those days. If only I would have went to go see him while I was in school, or took the time right after, I wouldn't felt so guilty about spending time with him. I wouldn't feel guilty about the memories that I didn't make with him. So deep down inside, you gotta really come to terms. Oh, by the way, please go seek help. Don't do this by yourself. Okay? But eventually you seek out you sit down and write it down and think about it. Yeah, and you understand that there's nothing in the world that you can do, and you can't trade God. Don't even think about it. Don't even ask him. Alright? You're never going to get an answer. You're never going to be able to trade anything, anybody for it. And our next stage. Whew. Y'all want to hear this one? Depression. What? Sabian? Depressed? Me? Yeah. I went through a bad slump. I'll admit it, as a man, I'm a strong male. We all go through these phases of sadness, but this was a different kind of depression. It's a depression that I think it's only up to you if you want to defeat it or tame it or keep it away. It was just probably the worst feeling ever. I didn't say too much. I don't think I ate that much. You want to sleep all day. You go to work, act like everything is okay, and then you come home and you're not. believe it or not, I think I am still depressed some days. No, I don't take medication. But you just find ways to deal with it. 1 second. Right. So you find ways to deal with it. And I think that's just been kind of something that I am trying to figure out how to deal with. Because when depression comes, it comes in like waves. And depression is a bitch. Let me put that on wax. I think because I'm such a such a strong, resilient person, I was able to deal with depression in such a healthy manner. But there's people out there that's suffering every single day from depression, and the way that they may find relief may not be some of the healthiest things in the world. Some of them may do drugs. Some of them may drink excessively. Some even may think that the only way out is suicide. Then think about suicide. All the factors come into play. You're starting to think if I would have spent more time with your father, or if I would have called more, we never got a chance to do those fishing trips. Every little thing that you can think about came to my mind. So, what does depression look like? And that's the question you gotta ask. Depression doesn't look like everything that you read or you see on TV. Depression doesn't have a specific picture. It's different for everybody. Depression would hit when I'm in my happiest times. Depression may hit when you're watching TV, you're eating, when you're at work, you're at a meeting about the brief, and then depression just hits. You may hear some music that reminded you of the person that you lost, and it may hit. You may be in the car driving a long distance, depression just hits. Yeah, that bitch comes quick. Pause. It comes in waves. It comes and goes. But God has definitely been with me during those times. And one of the ways, I'm being a little bit open with you guys, and I'm telling you this, one of the ways that I defeated depression was talking to God. Yeah, I talk to God. I talked to God. I asked Him for healing, for understanding, for love, for care, and forgiveness. Forgive me for questioning you, God. You can feel kind of lonely when you lose somebody that you really adore. And then you ask yourself, like, how can you feel so alone when God is always here? I can feel that way. The flesh feels that way. Sometimes we need a spiritual refueling. A spiritual refueling. God touches our soul and fills us up with His mercy, His love. I ain't here to preach to y'all. I'm just telling you my experience, right? My relationship with God. But that was probably the way that I defeated depression. Let me tell you, when it came with the depression, I did not have the right eating habits or sleeping habits. I quit caffeine. I started taking a bunch of supplements. I went to the doctor every 5 days. I thought something was wrong with me. But let me tell you, when you're under anxiety and stress and depression, your body will be out of whack. You tend to, everything that can go wrong on your body will go wrong. I went to the doctor for, I think I did a checkup. My blood pressure was extremely high. My sugar level was kind of high. My vision was kind of blurry. Eyes would hurt. I couldn't sleep. I was just a wreck when it came to depression. So I had to tell myself that I wasn't going to let this kill me. I would not let depression take advantage of me overall. I wouldn't let it take my soul. So the conversation that I had with God, when I ask Him for all those things that I asked for, by the way, don't always ask God for things when you're feeling down and out. Get a chance to pray and thank Him, by the way. But when I was asking God for all those things, for healing, for mercy, for understanding and love and forgiveness, He gave it to me. I sleep so much better now. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't sleeping, like maybe 3 hours a night. And I can sleep all day long beforehand. Then I was not sleeping. I was not healthy. Going to work functioning off of a few hours of sleep. Go to work trying to sleep. Get off work, try to sleep. Sleep in your car. Taking melatonin. Taking magnesium. Maybe drinking a little bit. All in your head. Yo, depression is the worst disease in the world. You can diagnose it based off the symptoms, but the symptoms are from this much to this much. It's just, there is no certain set of symptoms for it. It just hits. So, the last part of the grieving stages, acceptance. Acceptance. Again, these aren't linear. Some people accept things in the beginning.